Up when I spoke with Kellyanne Conway a little while ago. We ran part of that interview earlier where she spoke about the decision to fire Jeff Sessions. Here now is the rest of our conversation.
Well, yesterday was another history-making day for Donald Trump, the president, Judy, because in the last 80 years, only 8 times has the president's party in power actually picked up any Senate seats. And this year, with the president's leadership and him barnstorming the country at these rallies, 53 rallies since he took office, 30 rallies in just the last 2 months alone, the president's the president and his party defied those odds and are picking up, as you say, 2, possibly 3 new Senate seats. That is history making, and I think it gives a real buffer in the United States Senate for more judicial nominations, for more executive nominations to go through. And so that is, when you talk about the House, it is disappointing but not surprising that the House would go to the party out of power. And certainly the economy, we want to keep the booming economy going, and there's no indication that there's an appetite among voters in some of those swing Democratic districts to have incessant investigations and endless subpoenas. So the Democrats, I hope that Nancy Pelosi, if she's elected Speaker, will be sincere in extending that olive branch. The president certainly said he'd like to work with her and continue to work with Leader McConnell.
I noticed today at his news conference, the president made a point of criticizing, even denigrating, some Republican members of Congress who ran for re-election but were defeated. He said they didn't embrace him closely enough. And I saw this afternoon that one of them, Congressman Ryan Costello, who represents part of Philadelphia, he made this statement. He said, to deal with harassment and filth spewed at GOP members of Congress in tough seats every day for 2 years because of the president, to bite your lip more times than you would care to disagree and separate from the president on principle and civility, to lose because of the president and have him blank on you angers me to my core. Why did the president criticize these Republicans?
That sounds like a pretty unhappy person at this point. I'm not going to comment further on his particular comments. I guess he decided to be very bold after the election results, but that, as it said, we're happy for his service and the many times that he supported the president's agenda while in Congress, which was more frequently than not, Judy. The president is making the point that he was out there helping to campaign for members of Congress, but particularly people running for the Senate and some of the governorships, and that he made the difference. You know, the Trump touch matters. There's a Trump bump out there. The president's also saying that there were other candidates that he offered to raise money for, to do robocalls for, to appear for, or to send others, and they flatly refused, and some of them lost.
The last thing I want to ask you about Kellyanne Conway is the president's testy exchanges with news reporters today at the White House. There was some critical back and forth, and with my PBS NewsHour colleague, Yamiche Alcindor, she asked a question to the president about whether his using the term nationalists, referring to himself as a nationalist, was giving encouragement to white nationalists. He told her he thought it was a racist question. What do you think the answer to the question is, though?
Well, I would just note, Judy, that today the president took 68 questions from 35 reporters, and as many reporters in the White House press corps have said, we are the most accessible administration they've covered, and that he is the most accessible president. He proved that today by taking these questions. I believe that what he was saying to your colleague, Yamiche, is that the implication of racism in the word nationalist is very unfortunate, because there's a difference between nationalism and white nationalism. And I have to tell you, as somebody who's been here from day one, actually has been by the president's side for three straight years now, owing back to the campaign, I resent tremendously always being put into this toxic stew of racism and sexism and misogynism and xenophobia. It's a lot on our shoulders, because it's not fair. And, you know, Judy, you have handled your career very differently than many people. I think in today's media, Yamiche accepted, that many people are out there trying to make a name for themselves and really getting very heated and sometimes very disrespectful toward the president. You saw that in the earlier exchange with a reporter from a different network whom I won't name. I think there's a certain decorum and respect that has to attend to approaching the President of the United States at a press conference.
Just make 2 quick points. One is that I asked this question because I've seen Republicans raise questions about whether it's appropriate for the president to use the term nationalism for the very reason we've just been discussing. And also, just to say a word on behalf of my colleague Yamiche, she would not ask a racist question. So I want to get that on the record.
Well, I think that questions with racist implications, though, maybe that is a better way of saying it than how it was said. But it's the implications are weighty. And again, the president took 68 questions from 35 different reporters today. I know as a very well and deeply respected member of the press corps of many years, Judy, decades, I know that you must appreciate, as we all do, a president who's actually willing to engage in front of the cameras for 90 minutes nonstop, including with your colleague from PBS.
Well, we thank you very much for talking with us this evening.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Kellyanne Conway, thank you.